Welcome back. You're watching The Fix with me, Karima Brown. My guest is the ANC's head of elections, Fikile Mbalula. Mr. Mbalula, according to the ANC's guidelines, consideration must be given to the selection of candidates able to win support in areas where the ANC doesn't have majority support. But you also meant to be coming up with a quota. We're talking about 50% for women, 25% for under 35s, and we are looking at 60% of people who have prior experience in municipal government. Are you able to, given the fact that COVID has hit the ANC really hard, you've lost a lot of people in your organization, are you going to be able to meet those targets?
No, we will meet those targets. We've got a lot of training. What has happened with us in the past is that those who have got experience in local government have been annihilated by factions. What the guidelines seek to do is to say that Mbalula is good, but it's not in my faction. He will not be annihilated. Because of his skills, he will be retained. And that is what the guidelines are about. But equally, continuity and change. You know, you can't have a party, society that is getting younger, and then the party that is almost stagnant and getting old. So that is why we have now brought a unique feature, which is a quota for young people. That is very important for us. 50-50 has been with us now for quite some time. We are the only party that practice this. Among the few in the world, of a male-dominated political, life in many countries. We pride ourselves of this. And of course, the ANC will meet that quota in terms of women. Women remain the majority. If you look around, who is the majority in our society is women. And so no doubt, Karima.
Okay, now one of the things that obviously is very difficult is to run an election campaign with a global pandemic that is literally, rendering the usual ways of doing things completely outmoded. We saw the January 8th statement where you did it virtually. It wasn't without its technical glitches. You've got to create branches. Some of your branches has to go through elections. What kind of challenge, Fikile Mbalula, are you facing to conduct a candidate list, to get the candidates to speak to communities and to campaign with the reality of COVID-19? Have you begun, this training process in the organization, and how difficult do you think it's going to be for you?
We did with the by-election, even though we emphasize voter contact. It will be difficult to engage with voters because that is the strength of the ANC among its constituency to its voter contact. It will be easier for other parties, small and elite parties, to engage with their constituency, which is largely, well-off people whom they can access through. With the ANC, it will be a challenge. That is a biggest headache. For us and so on, but we are determined to work around it and to use IT as a way of engaging. Of course, IT depends on also what the IEC will recommend. We will plan around that. What the IEC will recommend at the present moment at the party liaison, we are looking at all of those issues. What the IEC is considering. And we are planning almost weekly. As an ANC election machinery, we're planning weekly. It's a very thankless job because it's not about cameras. It's what we may characterize in lack of better word, the dirty work, Yeah. We've got our team intact, and we're planning, we're looking at all the scenarios, we're looking at all the challenges, and we recommend to the party all the time. So. But now, this year is a reality. 2021 has arrived, and it is the election year indeed. And so our work is cut out.
Okay. Now, you've also got very strict criteria around if a candidate is involved in any one of the legal issues, such as, things like gender-based violence, corruption, criminal charges. We have had the ANC being unable to effectively sideline those people who call into question the integrity committee and the process. I mean, we had a very ugly situation where an ANC member accused of raping his own children, the national office had to intervene in Mpumalanga to say that person cannot possibly be associated with the African National Congress. How are you going to ensure, given the difficulty that you have in managing your structures because of COVID, that you don't have people that face criminal charges, corruption charges on your lists?
We are going to have to push the ANC as our party and as an ANC election machinery to do the right things. It doesn't matter, whoever it is. We've got to act. The image of the party is in the doldrums when it comes to corruption. The ANC is battered, is in big trouble because what account for most of the things people raise against us is corruption. People recognize that ANC is doing everything in its power to secure a better life for them. But in the main, they say, no, man, corruption, it doesn't matter, Karima. It doesn't matter. And it is the truth that in the party, sometimes we're lackadaisical when it comes to this particular issue because we've got different views. If I've got self-interest, I'm Mbalula, I know I can be charged or whatever that is the case, I tend to take a particular view. The movement now will be guided by principle. The January 8 statement itself, adopted by the NEC, speaks to these particular issues very clear.
Okay, final question.
We've got to walk the talk.
Final question, Mr. Mbalula. What kind of date does the ANC prefer? I mean, there's obviously legislation that guides us in terms of this, but I know that the ANC doesn't like conducting long, drawn-out campaigns. It often believes that people suffer fatigue. Are you keen on having, in the timeframes, an early election, or are you looking to kind of extend the time and have a very short, speedy, run to the final kind of voting day?
The president, in consultation with the IEC, will pronounce on the date nearing the time, but the IEC have already guided us that elections will take place between August and November. So we are readying ourselves around that time, August and November. Of course, we prefer to be, it's an open point for us. We prefer a very short campaign, and we also prefer summer, rather than winter.
To get people out.
Because it works in our... winter work against us. I mean, in the part of the natural things that happened in the last campaign, over and above, the image we had, and we produced 54% in that campaign. There were objective things like we campaigned and we voted in winter. It was a mess. It was a disaster. It doesn't work for us. So we prefer an election that will take place within a specified period, and we plan around it. But for us, every day is a campaign because as a ruling party, we are judged on the basis of what we are able to do for our people. So every day for us, as long as we are in power, is an election day because we've got to do things to change and to make the lives of our people better and live up to what we promised them.
All right, that's where we will leave it. Thank you so very much. ANC elections head Fikile Mbalula. Still ahead, we look at the domestic and international protocols that regulate and govern the acquisition of all-important COVID-19 vaccines. Stay with us.